It's Wednesday, May 13th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Nova Scotia unveils its new flying force to tackle future wildfires. New Brunswick has a goal to become the top spot in Canada for mining projects.
A few spots to watch for showers through the end of the week, and then warmer temperatures for the long weekend.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. The province of New Brunswick has announced an ambitious goal. It wants to become the gold standard in this country when it comes to mining opportunities. A new act is promising to make the approval process faster and easier to get shovels in the ground. CTV's Avery McRae has the details.
Just a few months after unveiling its comprehensive mineral strategy, New Brunswick is digging deeper to get resources out of the ground.
What we're trying to signal is that we want to be the leading jurisdiction in the country with respect to being agile, with respect to the development of critical minerals.
It's being done by replacing decades-old legislation with a new Mineral Resources Act. It's one the province says will streamline approval processes for mining startups, while at the same time strengthening environmental protections and collaboration with First Nations.
We have a port in the north and in the south, access to markets. You don't need to build a mining camp to actually get at the resources itself, because we already have road infrastructure.
The plan has revived the previously established Mining Association of New Brunswick. Prospector Robert Murray says in recent years, companies have had no interest in the province.
It's totally changed, so that now I'm dialoguing and having conversations with companies like Rio Tinto, Teck, BHP, things of that nature. And they're saying that New Brunswick is now finally on their map.
But the other side of the house isn't convinced the legislation is nothing more than fool's gold.
This government has simply just given another strategy, nothing that gives any results today. And there are so many questions for things that we don't know.
That includes mineral pricing, which Savoy says isn't clear in the 70-plus page bill. Green Party leader David Kuhn questions how sustainable development and being competitive align.
Sisson could be far more sustainable if it were developed with dry stack storage for the tailings, but it's more expensive to do that. So it makes it less competitive to do the right thing.
Minister Heron says while forestry is the province's economic driver, he believes mining could be the strong junior brother when it comes to generating the provincial GDP over the next decade. Avery McRae, CTV News, Fredericton.
A Prince Edward Island company that works with the aviation industry is getting a big boost from governments to expand and hire. MDS Coating Technologies in Summerside is getting $110 million from Ottawa and the province. The money will go towards a multi-million-dollar facility and equipment expansion. MDS works with commercial aviation and defense clients. They supply advanced coating technologies. The Premier says this is the kind of industry the island wants to support.
Creating skilled jobs for islanders, including engineers, chemists, technicians, researchers developing advanced coating technologies for aviation and industrial applications. Their work's helping reduce emissions, improve efficiency, and extend the lifespan of critical equipment used all around the world.
The province is spending $55 million on the project, which includes a $45 million loan through Finance PEI. Still on PEI, the Lance government is offering up to $3 million to oyster growers and processors who have suffered significant losses from MSX and Dermo. The Oyster Industry Relief Program will cover interest costs on debt loans taken out before the 1st of May on losses of at least 30%. It's launching the Oyster Relief Wage Assistance Program. That's to offset a portion of payroll costs connected to sorting and handling requirements. According to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, MSX was first detected around Bedeck Bay 2 years ago. MSX and Dermo are diseases that do not pose a health risk to humans, but they can kill oysters and lead to lower growth rates. The oyster sector, of course, is a major exporter within the island's seafood industry. 500 rural communities in New Brunswick could be getting faster internet. More than 27,000 homes will be able to get high-speed internet. In New Brunswick, over 95% of households currently surf the web at high speed. Ottawa is spending $73 million on 2 projects. The federal government says it wants every household in Canada to have that kind of access within 4 years. Last summer's wildfires exposed a weakness in Nova Scotia's ability to fight forest fires. The government vowed to get its own fleet of water bombers so it wouldn't have to rely on those from other provinces. Well, today it showed off 4 planes that will lead the firefight. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness shows us.
Nova Scotia has new weapons to battle forest fires this summer.
Well, it's ideal. It's very maneuverable. The airplanes can get off the ground quick. We can load quick.
4 fixed-wing water bombers and 1 coordination plane, also called the Bird Dog, are now based out of the airfield in Debert. The province's 1-year deal with New Brunswick-based Forest Protection Limited is worth $6.5 million.
We know that the forest fire situation we have, they're more intense, more unpredictable, and they're right now leased under a one-year contract, so that's the planes, the pilots, everything we need.
Those pilots can be airborne within 10 minutes.
Pilots are based here in Debert full-time. They're on a rotation, 15 days on and then 5 days off. And long-term, the intention is to have pilots from Nova Scotia. We do have pilots from Nova Scotia in our team, that they would be based here full-time.
The Bird Dog leads coordination in the air to determine the safest path for the bombers to follow. The bombers can be loaded with water, fire foam, or other fire retardants.
It can be done anywhere in the province if the crews are there to support that. So if we had a long, sustained event, we would move the crews to them to help them fill it faster.
Pilot Daniel Robb knows exactly how the planes perform. He says they're ideal for what Nova Scotia needs.
I was on the fires in Aylesford Lake last summer, and we did some quick strikes from Fredericton, and yeah, over the Bay of Fundy. Our initial attack was fast, and we were able to haul retardant.
In addition to the 5 aircraft, fire crews are getting upgrades to their equipment to the tune of $12.8 million, which is being matched by the federal government. Forest fire season in the province runs from March 15th to October 15th. Todd, Debert was chosen as the base for these aircraft because of its location, with the furthest point in the province being an hour flight from this airfield. Todd.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you, Jonathan McGuinness in Debert. We go to neighboring Maine now, where a game warden has died after the plane he was piloting crashed in a rural area of the state. A witness says the Cessna appeared to be struggling against high winds just before yesterday's crash. The 50-year-old pilot was the only person aboard at the time. The crash site was found by the Warden Service and Forest Service helicopters. The pilot was using the plane to help restock fish. The FAA in the States and the NTSB are investigating. Avon community, where it was found, is north of Augusta. It's about 300 kilometers southwest of our St. Stephen. There's a look right now at downtown Antigonish. 14 beautiful degrees, nothing but blue skies as we bring in Kaylin Mitchell with what has been a lovely day right around the region.
Very bright for Antigonish heading into the first part of this evening, though we do have some changes ahead of us for evening and nighttime hours here in the Maritimes. First of all, though, if you are headed out right now, you're headed out into temperatures that are mostly around the low to mid-teens, a little bit warmer than that in a few areas of New Brunswick. For example, at a weather station near Kushabaquack right now, 18 degrees is being reported. Here's a look in at the winds. They're mostly out of a southwest direction for the province of Nova Scotia, a little bit more variable in direction than north of New Brunswick. Sustained in a lot of cases, 15 to 30 kilometers per hour, with a few gusts between 30 and 40. The wind gusts continue to diminish as we make our way through tonight and as some cloud cover and some showers move in. So this is shower activity approaching right now the southwest of New Brunswick as well as the southwestern corner of Nova Scotia. It's out ahead of a warm front that's making its way through the northeastern United States, and the showers will become a little bit more widespread in their coverage for the Maritimes as we make our way through tonight, though in most cases they are expected to be on the lighter side. Here's a little bit of a rainfall outlook into the Fredericton area, which is where some of those showers are expected to move through a little bit later on this evening, likely beginning maybe around 9 p.m., but then extending into the overnight. But you can see those rainfall rates, though, quite low, mostly held below 2 millimeters an hour and even less than that at times. So overall, it's only going to allow for some rainfall amounts around Fredericton tonight in the range around 2 to 5 millimeters. Other parts of the Maritimes as well may pick up a few millimeters out of those showers. And then we're into the extended forecast, and we get to talk about that May long weekend. And Todd, I'm going to have more on that when I'm back a little bit later.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Thank you, Kaylin. A Nova Scotia man convicted of murdering two men years apart is appealing both verdicts. Adam Drake was found guilty of gunning down Tyler Kaiser in Halifax a decade ago. Today, his lawyers argued the trial judge made errors and the case took too long to get through the courts. CTV's Callum Smith reports.
It was at the corner of Gottingen and Falkland Streets outside a halfway house in November 2016 when Tyler Kaiser and his girlfriend pulled into this parking lot. Soon after, multiple shots were fired at him. 27 months later, Adam Drake was charged with first-degree murder. But just days before trial, the Crown dropped the charge, saying it no longer had a reasonable prospect of conviction. 1 year later, the charge was reinstated. Drake was ultimately convicted in October 2024, which he appealed. He was not in court today, but his lawyers were, arguing 3 grounds of appeal. One, that his case took too long to get through the courts, that the trial judge didn't adequately assess exculpatory evidence, and that the trial judge erred in how he handled the evidence of key Crown witness Morgan Harrington, who identified Drake as the shooter. It took almost 62 months from when the first charge was laid to the conclusion of his trial, more than double the time set under the Jordan principle.
The bird's eye view is that Mr. Drake's right to be tried within a reasonable time was not given proper priority by the Crown.
Part of that issue argued today was the COVID-19 pandemic. The Crown said COVID wreaked havoc on the justice system and that other unusual circumstances also prolonged this case. Another focus of the appeal was the trial judge accepting testimony from Harrington, identifying Drake as the shooter. The trial judge classified Harrington as a lifelong criminal and unsavory witness, but accepted his testimony. Drake's lawyers today arguing that Harrington was set to receive a financial reward and dismissal of his own charges to identify Drake, alleging those were reasons to falsely implicate him.
We relied on a number of evidentiary factors to say that Adam Drake did not commit this murder.
The 3-member Court of Appeal panel has reserved its decision. Meanwhile, Drake is also appealing his conviction in battle rapper Pat Stay's 2022 murder, but no hearing dates have been set. Callum Smith, CTV News, Halifax.
As of Monday night, downtown Moncton has 2 new city councillors. Both enter City Hall with ideas of how to tackle the crime that has been plaguing the area. CTV's Derek Haggett met them today.
2 of Moncton's newest councillors are ready to take on the challenges of their downtown ward. Mark Legier and Kristen Kavukian are first-time city councillors who hope to bring some fresh ideas to an area dealing with crime and social issues. What they heard while canvassing neighborhoods? Many don't feel safe walking around downtown.
We need to make sure we're taking the steps to address that by, I think, a more of a presence by whether it be bylaw officers and RCMP, but literal boots on the ground.
Legier says more affordable housing is needed for the homeless, and the number of detox and rehab beds needs to increase.
We're not even halfway to our need. So it's essential that we have those services if we want to address an addiction crisis in our city.
Vacant buildings and empty lots, a big concern for Kavukian.
That is a really big problem. We can't continue to allow that on our primary streets in the middle of downtown. I'm looking for the province to enable us to levy a vacancy tax on owners that do that.
A spokesperson for Enough is Enough, the city's anti-crime coalition, tells me they're very much looking forward to working with the ward's new councillors.
Both, I think, have some really good energy and ideas, and they definitely recognize that there's a problem.
The coalition plans to meet the new council next month for an update.
I think Enough is Enough may not have gotten the electoral result that they wanted, but I think they, I applaud them for bringing up a very important conversation that needs to be had.
Both say they want to talk to their constituents as much as they can, and if someone does have an issue, they can come to them directly. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Online, a traffic stop in Amherst led to an arrest and the seizure of illegal cannabis and cigarettes. And we have those details at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Pricing, rebates, and whether a premier should be the energy minister. Those issues sparked debate at a legislative committee on power in Nova Scotia today. CTV's Hafsa Arif was there.
Inside committee chambers, energy affordability dominated the conversation, and whether enough is being done to help Nova Scotians struggling to keep up with rising utility costs.
Energy poverty in this province is among the highest, probably the highest in the country, at 40% by latest estimates, and it does fluctuate.
While existing supports help, the Energy Coalition is pushing for more.
The expenditure that we're estimated with it would decrease over time as everyone who participates gets looped into energy efficiency programming that helps them save on their energy bill.
A major focus of the meeting was the province's heating assistance rebate program, known as HARP. Despite a budget of more than $30 million, only about $22 million was spent this year.
There was 9,000 folks that we followed up on that needed to provide a heating bill as new applicants, but it was an incomplete application.
Officials say confusion around income threshold may have played a role.
Nova Scotian power bills just went up again on May 1st. They're going to go up again by the end of this calendar year. Nova Scotians need help affording their power bills.
The conversation also turned political.
Multiple requests for meetings have not happened with the energy minister, and organizations are not getting access to the minister. There should be a full-time minister of that department.
It is difficult to access the premier. So yes, I think it would make sense to have a separate energy minister from the premier.
Government officials say a full $33 million has been set aside for the HARP program next year. Committee members plan to reconvene at a later date to determine whether talks with the energy minister, who also serves as the premier, have been arranged. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
If you've seen teenagers wearing swim goggles or water wings lately, they're probably playing a graduation game known as Senior Assassin. It involves water guns. It's been around for a while. But as CTV's Stephanie Sikos reports, police are warning students to be cautious.
As the school year comes to an end, Dawn Cookson is getting ready to celebrate her son's graduation.
100% excited, yeah.
In the final weeks of senior year, students, including her son, have been making the most of their time with a game.
They're all into it, and it's kind of nice to see them off their computers and off the video games and stuff, and yeah, I think it's a lot of fun.
The game is called Senior Assassin. It's played by graduating students who use water guns to eliminate assigned targets, also known as their fellow classmates.
But there's lots of rules around it. Can't do it during school hours, can't walk into somebody's house, so you're not invading privacy or anything like that, or boundaries. Not at a workplace. So I find a lot of the kids are just going for walks more.
But the game has now come with a warning from police forces across the country, including here in the Maritimes.
Let's make sure we know that it's a water gun. So let's make it nice and bright and colorful, and it's very clear on what that is. We need to know that it is that, because if we get a call for service and there's a weapons complaint, we are going to respond accordingly.
The biggest message from police is about safety.
Think before you start, dodging through traffic. If you're jumping in a car, be cautious, be careful of where you're driving, where you're going.
Cookson says at the end of the day, it's great to see kids being kids again.
It's nice to see the seniors doing that, because really they're heading into university and they're going to get a big experience for what real life is like, and it's not all fun and games.
Stephanie Sikos, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Well, here's something we haven't said a lot lately. Maritimers in one town are about to get a break on the cost of living. That's because they'll no longer have to drive to the next town for groceries. A supermarket will reopen Friday in Salisbury, New Brunswick. It was destroyed by fire last fall, which meant people had to use more gas, traveling to buy food in other towns. The owner says the store was rebuilt in record-breaking time in the same location. He cannot wait to welcome back the regulars.
They've gone without now for 8.5 months.
The convenience of having their own local grocery store means a lot to these folks. I feel when you look at it, it's not only a grocery store, it's a place to meet. You're seeing a lot of people spending time in the aisles, chit-chatting. It's far more than a grocery store.
The new store will be bigger with a new look and more options for customers. The doors swing open Friday morning, 8 a.m. We'll take our first break of the evening. Still ahead, we get the latest from the U.S. President's high-stakes trip to China. But first, grounding foreign flights.
It's a real deterrent to travel.
Will direct flights from our region be parked as Canadian Airlines cancel international routes over fuel costs? Look at that next.
It's time for your Campfire Conditions Report, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends, and a significant change for the province of New Brunswick. The province is now closed to Category 1 fires and campfires, so no burning currently permitted in the province of New Brunswick. For the province of Nova Scotia, campfires and Category 1 fires are currently permitted between the hours of 2 p.m. to 8 a.m. And for the province of Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently allowed, and Category 1 domestic brush burning permitted between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. Make sure you check in on your provincial regulations. These are valid until 2 p.m. on May 14th, and also check in on any municipal bylaws or restrictions that might be in place.
The rising cost of jet fuel is forcing Canadian carriers to cancel some flights overseas to the States. Well, what about all those direct routes from Halifax? CTV's Vanessa Wright has more from the airport.
It started with one, then quickly turned into dozens of international flights canceled from Canada.
It's a real deterrent to travel, particularly since most of us Canadians are not going to the U.S. by car anymore, so we're taking flights.
But even some U.S. flights are being scrapped. Air Canada recently cut service from Canadian airports to 4 seasonal routes to Austin, Sacramento, and Charleston, South Carolina, just last week as a result of surging fuel prices.
Most of the cancellations we've seen have been out of major hubs like Montreal, Toronto, etc.
So Maritimers can let out a sigh of relief knowing their trip across seas won't be affected, at least for now.
We're seeing canceled flights and changes. However, they are operational and domestic or regional, not international. So for now, Atlantic Canadians remain unaffected when it comes to international cancellations due to fuel prices.
That's been proven true at Halifax's International Airport.
Right now, we've seen minimal impact to scheduled service for our summer, and those have primarily affected one domestic route as well as one U.S. route.
Though it's good news for maritime travelers, it's brought on a renewed interest in having more direct international flights.
Because I live near Halifax in French Island, and I would like to go to France more easier.
Some options are already in the works. Late last month, Air Transat announced it will expand its service from Charlottetown to the Dominican Republic starting in December.
Direct flights are the way to go. Anytime you have a connection, you have a big risk of delay, and it's a very long trip.
Now, European routes out of Halifax have yet to be affected by fuel surcharges, which is a good thing since I'm told Halifax Stanfield is expecting a record-breaking summer for international flights, specifically to Europe. Todd.
Yeah, that certainly is good news. CTV's Vanessa Wright at Stanfield International Airport tonight. Still to come. Nice to have the sun today, but showers are moving back in. Maybe it's still time to catch a flight. Kaylin has details after this. Come on, do we even need to say anything? It's probably chilly wind though, hey?
Yeah, I would say so. It's a little bit of the southwest right now, which is a little bit onshore around Peggy's Cove, but that is beautiful. What are we seeing? 11 degrees right now, so probably feeling that wind a little bit. And same thing goes for tomorrow with that south wind continuing on.
Got some white caps out there, so it's a pretty strong indication.
Yeah, that's right. Although I would say the days where you don't see at least a few white caps out around Peggy's Cove are probably the rare ones.
Pretty rare, yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a quick look at weather conditions across the country. We'll talk more about.
Look at that in Saskatoon.
Yes. Okay.
Holy cow.
I'm glad you pointed that out, Todd. So very warm right now in Saskatoon, 29 degrees, but Regina's sitting at 28. But that part of southern Saskatchewan is going to be seeing some big changes in their weather conditions over the next 24 hours. That southern area of Saskatchewan right now underneath an orange level wind warning. They're expecting some wind gusts on Thursday that could peak between 70 and 110 kilometers per hour. And the weather system that is bringing in those strong winds tomorrow for southern Saskatchewan and parts of eastern Alberta is going to be followed by a big cool down in temperatures. So that heat that they have right now is not going to be lasting too long. Winnipeg sitting at 24 degrees, moving off towards the east. Speaking of some active weather, some pretty good thunderstorms making their way through parts of eastern Ontario right now. I want to say hello to Phil Convey. Phil's granddaughter, Emma, has been training with me in the Weather Center this week. So hello to Phil in Belleville. None of the thunderstorms moved directly through Belleville, but there were some in the vicinity. Montreal sitting at 8 degrees right now with rain. Out in the Maritime region right now, temperatures 13 degrees in Halifax, 15 at Fredericton, 14 at Charlottetown, 6 degrees right now in St. John's. Taking a look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation, we have a round of showers that'll be moving into and across the Maritimes as we make our way through this evening and tonight. By the start of the day for tomorrow, we should be down to a chance of showers in northern New Brunswick and maybe a low chance of the odd spotty shower around Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton to start the day. Now, compared to today, it is going to be cloudier conditions on Thursday. Not completely overcast, though. There might be some peaks or breaks of sunshine in the afternoon. And then Thursday evening and Thursday night, a coastal low-pressure system is going to return some rain and showers to Nova Scotia. This looks like it'll be mostly showery conditions in the west of the province, but actually some rain moving through eastern areas of Nova Scotia, and there could be some rainfall amounts there of between 10 and 20 millimeters. For the showers for tonight, though, it's mostly going to be light precipitation amounts ranging from basically just trace up to around a few millimeters locally, maybe a better shot at 2 to 5 millimeters around the southwestern corner of New Brunswick. And then winds in the forecast with that weather system won't be particularly strong either. Mostly out of the south by around midnight, and tomorrow's winds out of a southerly direction as well. They'll be a little bit more on the gusty side around coastal areas of the southwest of Nova Scotia. Some gusts there between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight around the region will be falling into a range of around 5 to 9 degrees, which means it won't be quite as cool or chilly as it was last night. Highs for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick, mostly between 16 and 19 degrees, so 14 on the coast. And down through central and southern areas of New Brunswick tomorrow, high teens and a few near 20, including Sussex as well as Moncton. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures. Most areas 17 to 19 degrees, parts of the coast between 14 and 17. In Cape Breton for tomorrow, it's 16 at Sydney and Badek, a little bit cooler at St. Peter's, near 12 degrees there, and 14 for Port Hawkesbury. 18 degrees on the north shore of Nova Scotia, except 17 at Tatamagouche. And for the eastern shore, high temperatures 11 to 15 degrees. 18 for Truro in the forecast, 19 for Amherst. As for the city centers, Halifax and Dartmouth, closer to 14, with that wind being a little bit more onshore. High teens in the forecast for the Annapolis Valley for tomorrow, and on the south shore of Nova Scotia, the high temperature is 15 to 17 degrees. Taking a look at the extended outlook for New Brunswick on Friday, it's going to be some isolated showers. May long weekend, mix of sun and cloud on Saturday. Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud. Low chance of showers, about a 30% chance, but high temperatures in the low to mid-20s on both of those days. 18 degrees on Monday with a mix of sun and cloud. Next Tuesday's looking pretty fair as well, and then a chance of showers on Wednesday. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, coming up at the end of the week on Friday, some showers expected, but most of those should end very early Saturday morning, with the rest of the day seeing some sunshine and some mild to warm temperatures. It'll be a low chance of showers on Sunday, then a mix of sun and cloud in the forecast for Monday. Tuesday, a mix of sun and cloud, and a chance of showers on Wednesday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island on Friday, there's going to be a chance of some showers. Those will be ending early Saturday morning. The rest of the day, mix of sun and cloud, high near 18 degrees, near 20 on Sunday. 30% chance of a shower. Mix of sun and cloud follows for Monday and Tuesday of next week, with a chance of showers on Wednesday. Todd.
You almost set that up like you needed a drum roll. And the long weekend.
Yeah, it's not a bad looking one right now. I've certainly seen more adverse a long weekend forecast for the Maritime region before. That's certainly true.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, we'll get the latest on U.S. President Donald Trump's trip to China. We'll talk about what's at stake. That's right after this.
Okay, so we give you another keyword tomorrow, 7 a.m. for Virgin Radio's 5K a day, chance to win $5,000.
And we're going to announce who wins the 3-day pass to the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival.
U.S. President Donald Trump is in Beijing. Tomorrow he meets Chinese President Xi. Talks will focus on the war with Iran and securing trade deals. Some of America's biggest CEOs are on the trip. We'll speak with our Eric Ham in Washington, but first we get the latest from NBC's Julie Sirkin.
President Trump arriving in Beijing to great fanfare. It's the president's first visit to China in his second term. And before departing the White House, he expressed his respect for Chinese President Xi Jinping.
I have a great relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to remain that way. We have a lot of things to discuss.
These talks could lead to a thawing of relations. Tech, Taiwan, and trade all expected to come up as the two countries are in the middle of a tariff truce. Another goal for this White House, opening Chinese markets to American companies. More than a dozen CEOs are traveling to China alongside the president, including NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, a late addition. Taiwan will be a delicate topic. China claims the island nation, but the U.S. backs its independence. Today, a bipartisan group of senators emphasizing support for Taiwan in a letter to Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
We need to support Taiwan. There should be no daylight between us and Taiwan.
I think it's absolutely critical that we make it clear that the United States policy with respect to Taiwan has not changed.
But looming large over the talks, Iran, which sells a lot of oil to China. Xi Jinping holding sway over Iran's leaders. President Trump, though, evasive as to whether he would ask Xi to step in to stop the war.
No, I don't think we need any help with Iran.
Earlier today, House Speaker Mike Johnson said the president is focused on ending the war, on reopening that critical Strait of Hormuz, and those actions will help bring prices down for Americans. In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
To discuss this, let's bring in CTV News analyst Eric Ham from Washington. Nice to see you, Eric, as always.
It's always good to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, let's get into this. The president almost seemed to downplay the gravity of this trip. What do you think he wants out of it? Is this all about a short-term win?
Well, the president needs so much from this trip, and I think what he's doing is he's trying to telegraph, at least to Beijing, that there's not much to be gained, trying to gain leverage, recognizing that he knows that he needs Xi Jinping's help with moving Tehran on the war. That's become increasingly unpopular for the president at home. More importantly, President Donald Trump, with so many business leaders with him, recognizes that they all also are needing more from China. But China recognizes that they're in the catbird seat. They have tremendous leverage right now. And also, too, if they recognizing that President Trump needs their help on the war in Iran, they also want from the president, in turn, more from the United States in terms of leeway regarding Taiwan. So there's a lot at stake for President Donald Trump, not just globally, but more importantly, domestically. And he needs to be able to come out of this two-day summit with a win.
Okay, you mentioned a lot there. Let's drill down on a couple of them. And we saw some pictures of those corporate CEOs, Elon Musk, Apple's Tim Cook, among the corporate leaders who were there. Is it about coming back with some sort of deal that will perhaps move the needle for Donald Trump in terms of the economy?
Not just the economy, but of course, if he can get a commitment to help with ending the war, that, of course, goes a long way to staving off the growing inflation that we're seeing in the United States and doing more for the economy. But again, if he cannot get that, or in fact, if he has to give up too much in return, then we could see not only the American public continuing to move away from this president, but more importantly, his base as well.
So he has said in the past, you know, China gets a lot of oil out of the Hormuz Strait, but they haven't seemed to be hurt that much by it, or at least publicly not saying that they are. So, you know, does China hold the cards in this one?
They do, not only on the war, but also on export controls. We know that there's ongoing tit for tat on trade has been an issue, and President Donald Trump has not gotten China to actually come to actually the agreement that was agreed to on the purchase of soybeans. Farmers in the United States are still hurting right now. And one of the reasons is because China has not actually purchased the soybeans to the degree that the United States would like. So he wants to also see China not only commit to doing that, but also move forward on those purchases. So there's a lot there that Donald Trump needs from Xi Jinping, but of course, Xi Jinping is not going to simply give away to Donald Trump without getting so much more in return.
Well, that's right. He's going to want something back. Look, let's take a Canadian look at this from the Canadian perspective. Initially, Mr. Trump said Canada was wise to strike a deal with China. Naturally, he pivoted and warned Canada about getting too cozy with Beijing. You know, he's kind of taking that up himself right now.
That's true. He is, because he needs so much. Unlike Canada, which actually has leverage, President Donald Trump is hemorrhaging political support, economic support, and we know many of those business leaders. For example, we know the head of Meta is also on that trip with President Donald Trump, and it was China who recently actually shot down the purchase by Meta of a Singapore AI company. So these companies are looking for so much. They're looking for access to China's domestic markets, but also in return, Beijing wants many of its Chinese tech companies to be removed off that sanctions list by the United States. So there's going to be a lot at stake for both sides, but clearly it is Donald Trump that needs so much more in the short term from Xi Jinping, not the other way around.
How could this have an effect? How could it play out in the backdrop of the Kuzma negotiations, which are quickly approaching?
Yeah, that's a really good question. If President Donald Trump comes out of this meeting empty-handed, then I think that places even greater pressure on him during this review of Kuzma. And of course, what it also does is it ensures that Canada, not the United States, is going into that review process with far more leverage than President Donald Trump. Because again, to come out of this meeting with a war continuing to rage and drag on, President Donald Trump's popularity is still at all-time lows, and America's biggest trading partner and its neighbor with so much more on the table in terms of the offerings, President Donald Trump will need to be able to show not only his base, but the American people that he can make a deal for them. And that's going to be certainly prescient for the president, given the fact that we now have these latest numbers showing that inflation in the United States has risen by nearly 4%.
All right, Eric, we're going to get back to you to talk more about Kuzma in the coming weeks, no doubt. Thank you very much for that. Good information. Nice to see you.
You bet. Thanks so much for having me.
Eric Ham is our eyes and ears in the Beltway. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Looking at medical news, there's a new name for PCOS, the most common cause of infertility. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in the midweek edition of Your Lifeline.
A hormonal condition affecting 1 in 8 women around the world just got a new name in hopes of improving care. It's now called polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome instead of polycystic ovary syndrome. Researchers and supporters of the change said the old name, often shortened to PCOS, is inaccurate. The Endocrine Society says it reduced a complex hormonal or endocrine disorder to a misunderstanding about cysts and a focus on ovaries, contributing to misdiagnoses and inadequate treatment. So now, PCOS is called PMOS. The name change, made after 14 years of collaboration between experts and patients, was published in The Lancet on Tuesday. The condition is characterized by fluctuations in hormones that can affect weight, metabolic and mental health, the reproductive system, and the skin. No one knows exactly what causes the condition, but there's evidence that genetics and obesity play roles. Finally, scientists are supercharging patients' own immune cells to try to fight HIV without today's drugs. A small study is giving a hint that CAR T-cell therapy, already used for some cancers, might eventually work for HIV.
We think we've identified a very promising strategy in which we can sort of begin to think that maybe one day we will have, not a cure maybe, but something that can be given and will work for, a few decades.
2 patients given a single dose of their revved up cells saw their HIV remain suppressed, one for nearly a year and the other for nearly 2 years. Researchers stress that larger and longer studies are needed to prove if it really works. The findings were presented Tuesday at a gene therapy meeting in Boston. Nearly 40 million people worldwide live with the virus that causes AIDS. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
In our market report, not much action on the Dow Jones today. It finished the trading day down 67 points. A big deal in Canadian mining to tell you about, a merger that will create an $18.5 billion company. BNM Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has the details.
Equinox Gold is buying Orla Mining in a cash and stock deal worth just over $5 billion US. Combined, the new entity would be the second largest Canadian gold producer, with 6 mines across Canada, the U.S., Nicaragua, and Mexico. Together, they would produce more than 1 million ounces of gold a year. But the CEO of Equinox says he aims to double output. Shareholders will vote on that deal in July. Algoma Steel is shipping less than half of what it used to ship across the border. Still, American tariffs have cost it more than $27 million in its latest quarter. Algoma reported a net loss of about $160 million in that period. The CEO says the company is working on becoming a Canadian supplier of steel. More Canadians filed for insolvency in the first 3 months of 2026 than in any other quarter since 2009. Experts say Canadians are carrying record debt, and rising energy and food prices puts them in a tighter squeeze. The biggest increase in filings was in Ontario. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up a fraction to 72.96. West Texas Intermediate down over $1 to 101.02. Western Canadian Select up over $3 to 81.43. And the TSX lost 249 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell's on the weather deck with one more look at the forecast and just a beautiful photo tonight.
Yeah, great picture. So let's take a look at that. And this is sort of like a cotton candy colored sky here. It was sent in by Deborah Brewer from Port Elgin, New Brunswick. And you typically get these kind of colors around sunrise and sunset because at that time the light has more of the atmosphere to make its way through. It scatters out more of the blues, leaving more of the pinks, the reds, and the purples, and especially good when you've got a little bit of cloud cover as well. And we've got some stratocumulus clouds here, so I want to thank Deborah for that. Port Elgin for tomorrow, nice looking day, mix of sun and cloud, high temperature 17 degrees. Cloudy start to the day around the Maritime region. There'll be a few showers up in the north of New Brunswick, a very low chance of a shower around Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton. And then in the afternoon, cloudy with sunny breaks, a little bit of a breeze out of the south and southeast, a lot of high temperatures tomorrow, getting up towards the mid to high teens. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic, Intelligence Operator 230.
We'll chat with a former Canadian spy about his new memoir, Serving His Country, and the real-life world of espionage.
Start your morning with us Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally tonight, the Moncton Wildcats. Boy, they're going to look to tie their series with Chicoutimi tonight after last night's nail-biting loss in overtime.
Un bâton, ça revient derrière le filet. Remise devant, 2 fois. Le but est bon, Marc-André. Victoire des Saguenayens de Chicoutimi. Wow!
That dramatic overtime goal gave Chicoutimi a 5-4 win over the Cats and a 2-1 series lead in the Q-League final. Game 4 tonight in Chicoutimi, 8 o'clock our time. You can watch that game on TSN 3. Game 5 will return to the Avenir Center Friday night, 7 o'clock, shaping up to be a good one. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here at 11:30. I hope to see you tomorrow night. I'm Todd Battis. Until then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.